Welcome everyone, my name is Sophia and this is the Voice of Victors. This is a show dedicated to victors, not just survivors or victims as you would normally call them, victors from sexual abuse. Now, whether when you were a child or when you are an adult, you have been exposed to sexual abuse of any and every type. This is a show that you can find peace within and find the solution on how to continue your life thereafter. This is a show that will inform and educate everyone around on how to deal with someone that has gone through sexual abuse or sexual violence of any type. Now, I'm not alone in this. I have a beautiful co-host who is actually an initiator and a counselor, and she's going to be presenting the show with me. Her name, excuse me, is Antonia. Everybody join me and welcome Antonia.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, you look so beautiful.
Thank you. You too.
So tell me, how did this come about? I mean, when you came to meet us and you told us about this passion of yours, how did it happen?
Okay, because I had gone through sexual abuse while growing up, and I understood that the journey to wellness is very difficult, I just said to myself, we need a show where other survivors who haven't completely healed will understand that you can live a normal life again after being sexually abused. Whether you were raped, whether you went through incest, whether you were sexually molested, whether as a child or as an adult, you can live a normal life again. You can overcome the psychological and the physical effects of going through abuse and live a normal life again. That's the whole idea.
Wow, wow. Everyone, get your popcorn and get your drink and sit back and relax. It's going to be a beautiful time.
Yeah.
We'll go on a break now. When we return, more information on the Voice of the Victors. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. Before we went on a break, we talked about the reason why we needed to have this show, and Antonia gave us a very powerful, an introduction, the fact that you yourself had gone through this. Now, someone out there might be wondering, what is sexual abuse? Why must you, what is it?
Yeah.
Is it a big deal?
Because the word is being overflogged right now.
Right, sexual abuse. Me too, all the hashtags all over the
Yeah,
place, and you're
yeah.
wondering, what is this thing?
Sexual abuse is actually any form of sexual molestation, be it incest, rape, unnecessary and unwanted and unconsented touching and sex.
So the key word here is unconsented.
Yes.
One might say, what do you mean, consented or unconsented? A child,
A child cannot give consent.
yeah,
for
a
sex.
child can tell you, what if the child said yes, go ahead.
No, no. Any child, anybody below the age of 18 under the law cannot give consent for sex. And if you forcefully have sex with someone, that is rape. And there's a penalty for it. That's
Okay.
unconsented. That means the person did not agree to do it.
And then if you're having sexual activities with anyone under the age of 18, it's a crime.
It's a crime. It's a crime and is referred to as sexual abuse because you are actually abusing
The child,
that child, yes.
whether the child consented to it or not.
A child cannot give consent. We need to establish that.
Okay.
A child cannot give consent. Now, sexual abuse can happen in several forms. You have incest. Right now, that is the biggest form of sexual abuse that is destroying the minds of a lot of young people. It's difficult to talk about it because it's a family thing where an uncle is molesting his niece. I was molested by my uncle, my father's immediate younger brother. It's difficult to talk about it mostly because Nigeria is still a traditional and a religious society. So these things are hard to talk about. Where a father is sleeping with the daughter and the daughter keeps getting pregnant and the man is aborting the pregnancy, it's difficult to talk about it, but it's very real. Where a brother and a sister, they are having sex. I've seen a situation where a brother is preferring to have sex with his sister than his wife because he says that the sister is better. But the sister doesn't feel cool about it.
Now, this is not a fiction. This is not a movie.
No.
This is real life, real time, happening in
life.
our world now.
In our Lagos, Nigeria right now. Let's not go too far.
Amazing. Okay, so we'll talk about, so now we've defined sexual abuse, whether it's with a minor and an adult, or within family.
Families, yeah.
What
With
about
friends.
people at work, a colleague and a boss and an employee?
Very possible.
How does that work? Like when they say they are sexually abused, you wonder, but this person is your boss and you said yes. Is that things like coercion? Do we have?
Yes, a lot of bosses coerce their female staff to do it. One of the things we'll be doing on this show is to let men know that you can't force a woman to have sex with her. And if a woman says no to your sexual advances, no means no.
And vice versa.
Yes.
Because
And a
men
woman-
also go
yes,
through.
a woman also does not have the right to force a man to have sex. If the man refuses your sexual advances, no means no. No doesn't have any other explanation. It means no. I don't want it means I don't want it. You do not have any right to force anybody to have sexual relationship with them. And if you tell one person, I want to go out with you, and the girl says no, move on to the next person. Don't force the person. That force, that control, that coercion is what brings the problem. The thing is, that 5 minutes, it can actually ruin somebody's life. Now, a lot of men don't know, men and women don't understand that the government in Lagos State has zero tolerance for sexual offenses. Yeah, so people are going to prison as we speak for sexual offenses. As a man, I'd like to ask you this question. Why would you want to go to jail for 14 years because of 5 minutes of unconsenting sex?
I
about
think
that.
it's a lot. I think it's why part of the reason why I thought this show was so important is because we're talking from all points, all angles. Now, why would a guy want to do that? Why would you want to get to a point where you're so uncontrollable that you want this thing at this time without any,
want
and you must want it, and nobody can stop it?
A lot of factors contribute.
So we're going to be dealing with that, you know, and of course, even some ladies that also go through. We have cases of some nymphomaniacs.
Oh yes, oh yes. One of the
that
adverse effects.
Yes,
One of the, you know, sexual abuse can actually throw you in 2 ways. You can actually become a nympho. You are never satisfied. You always want to have sex. Or you become like Tonya. You don't even want to have sex.
oh my goodness.
Yes. So it's a 2-way thing, you know. And the reason why this show is so important is we want people to know a lot of children are being sexually abused
Every
now.
day.
If you check the papers, like there's no day, there's a particular newspaper, check page 3, every day. Now we're bringing up broken children who will end up becoming broken adults. We have a lot of broken adults now. That's why you can see that we have a lot going on now. We're wondering, 20
Why?
years ago,
Yeah.
this wasn't
This wasn't like this.
But you see, the children that were abused 20 years ago are parents now. Like we're saying backstage, I was telling you, moral.
And it's a precedent.
Yes. So we have a lot of vices now which are being traced. During counseling, we are tracing them to what happened at their childhood. No man was born a rapist. Something happened to his childhood that distorted a part
His
of
mind.
him. Yes. No child was born a rapist. So these are more we're going to be dealing with on the show.
Wow, it's so mind-boggling. It's something that will make you want to sit down and actually think and analyze what your life is about. This is a show for everyone. You want to get the numbers on the screen now to call. This show will have, she's a counselor, she's a trained counselor, and we have special counselors that are attached to this show that you can call and talk to, because we realize that we are in a dark world, but we are the light in the dark world. So we can't just sit down, fold our hands, and watch people just die out of depression, have suicidal thoughts because of some unfortunate incident that happened to them. We have to do something. And we're going to talk more on the show. So those of you asking questions and saying, oh, it's just rape, oh, it's just sexual abuse, I hope you are getting more information about this, that it is not just rape. It is not just sexual abuse or a child that had sex.
Yes.
No.
It's not just an abuse. Okay, you were molested while you were a child.
It's
Snap
not just-
snap out of it.
no, it's not just that.
You just don't snap out of it.
Yeah. So we're going to, when we come back after this break, we're going to be talking about the actual effect it has on a man or a woman that has been sexually molested. There's a reason we're saying this, because sometimes their whole life just changes, just
Oh, yes,
transforms.
it changes your life 360.
So we want to know that. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Welcome back, everyone. Sophia, before we went on that break, we said we will talk about the effects when we come back.
Yes, we said so. And the thing is that before the show started, we had actually started talking about the effects
Yeah.
of sexual abuse and the fact that the life could completely turn around
Yes.
360. I
Yes,
mean,
it
one could go into a bright light and then just turn around to a dark hell.
Yes, it does.
You know?
Spiral, yes.
So we're talking about the fact that, okay, most of the stories, you're a counselor, people talk to you. Most of the stories, we meet women or men that have been sexually abused. Tell us about these stories that you've encountered, some of them.
Okay, let me use myself as your guinea pig today. I don't mind. So I was 12 when the abuse started, and it was by my father's brother. I was a very intelligent child. You know, by the time the abuse started, because of the confusion in my mind, imagine the mind of a 12-year-old child who was told that if you ever say anything, she was going to be killed.
Your uncle told you that?
Yes, by somebody you love and you call daddy. It changes the mindset. It changes everything you've ever believed in. A parent is supposed to take care of a child. An
And protect.
uncle is supposed to love and protect his niece, not take advantage of the niece. So, in my 12-year-old mind, everything, my world crumbled. So, I become redundant. I became disinterested in anything. My academics grades dropped. Can you imagine, by the time I was going to write WAEC, I made just 3 papers. Do you believe that I was the head girl in my set?
And you know, that time you were head girl. You become head girl because you were
Because of
very
your
intelligent, your
yes,
academic prowess.
not being voted like we have today.
Yes.
So I was in the commercial class. I was the head girl. Why a science student was the assistant head girl. But by the time sexual abuse came, it stole everything I ever knew. I didn't remember that I was intelligent.
How, like, was your, is it that you just strayed or you just didn't remember anything?
You just don't remember anything because that abuse takes a part of your life. And if it happens every day like mine, which happened every night, by the time you wake up in the morning, you always wake up confused. You are looking at all the adults around and you are wondering, how come nobody's looking and saying that I'm going through problem? You wake up in the morning and the first thing you hear is, if you ever say a word to anybody, I will kill you. That is the program that is ringing in your head. If you ever say a word, I will kill you, I will kill you. That's what is ringing. You're not going to think about anything. The list on your table is to concentrate on your academics.
Wow, now this is you.
This is me, Antonia.
This is you now.
Yes, this is me.
I just can't imagine what happens in the hearts of so many young girls or young guys that can't even speak.
You begin to hate, you know, you have a lot of hatred for adults. You begin to have temper issues.
Now, I have a young girl that was with me. She was not even abused. All she sees or she saw was her dad hitting her mom.
That's also traumatic.
And she tells me she doesn't want to ever get married. In fact, she's so rude to the male, to boys and to guys. And I'm always wondering why. I had to sit her down and ask, what is going on? She tells me, and she opens up to me to tell me that, okay, my dad is always hitting my mom and he disrespects how he talks to her and my mom can't stand up for herself. So right now, in my mind, I'm a guy I don't even want. And I'm like, oh, this is even the effect of another kind of abuse. This is not someone that has even been sexually abused. Just imagine the effect it's having on this young girl. She's about 18.
No, imagine she grows and married with that mindset.
She doesn't even want to get, like, the way she's going.
A lot of girls right now,
Except
don't
she
want
gets
to get
counsel,
married,
yeah.
And their mothers are praying and begging God to give them husband, and they're looking at their mothers and they're like, what's wrong with this one? Like, I have a younger sister who is not married, and she'll just be looking at you like, what are they saying? So it's no longer the days where getting married was so attractive. It's not such a big deal.
And then there's a
any
high
longer.
rise of broken marriages. People
Yes,
get
because
married
a lot
and
of
they can't
broken
find
people-
themselves.
A lot of broken people are getting married. Now, one of the things we're going to be doing on this show is to let people know that there's a 360 recovery therapy. You can get back to factory setting. You can get back to the way God created you to be. If 2 broken people get married, that marriage is not going to last. If the boy was molested by a woman while he was growing up and he hated women, and the girl was molested by a man while she was growing up and she hates men, and they marry each other, that's a recipe for disaster. So you need to heal. So what we're preaching now is, before you even get into that marriage, you need to discover yourself. You need to heal. You need to get past that hurt.
What if you're already in the marriage?
If you're already in that marriage, you can seek help, because a hurting person will hurt another person.
And sometimes it's not just about wanting sex or being a nymphomaniac or someone that doesn't even want sex at all. Sometimes it's just adverse reactions.
Yes.
You get some people that are so hot-tempered, nobody can control them.
Hot-tempered. You'll be wondering, what kind of anger is this? Like the first time I went to the female prisons, I cried. I really cried, because I saw women who killed their husband in that spate of anger. You know, it's called the crime of passion. And they go to prison. I saw them there. I saw the lady that cut off her husband's penis.
Yes.
I saw her.
Wow.
Yes. It was a crime of passion. Something has happened, and there's a lot of bottled up anger for the opposite sex. So just one small thing triggers it, and you will react. After reacting, you will ask yourself, I didn't know I could react like this. But you see, the deed has been done. Under the law, there is no excuse to hurt another person. There's no excuse for murder. And under the Nigerian constitution, if you kill somebody, you will be killed. It's only if it is proven that it was not intentional,
yes,
you go for life. Do you understand? So now we're saying that, why would you want to risk your future for that 5 minutes of anger when you can actually get help and become normal again?
So now we see that people don't just become terrible human beings.
No.
People don't just become angry and start killing others.
Something
happened
at some point. And you know, in this part of the world, women talk a lot, so it's very easy for a woman to come and say, yes, I was raped.
It's not even easy now. We have very few.
Women speak more than men.
Well, you're right.
Women speak
more than men. Yes.
The percentage of women who have spoken compared to the men. If a man comes out now and says that he was raped while growing up, a guy wrote it on Instagram some time ago, and they were telling him, didn't you enjoy it?
Wow.
And the guy kept saying that, I was a child. I was a child. He was 5 years old, and an auntie was doing that to him every day, every day, every day, every day. And he vowed, the sad thing is, this particular guy vowed that he would never have anything to do with a woman. So he's in a same-sex relationship.
Wonderful. Forget the silence. I'm trying to receive the information as I'm processing it, and I think you are at home too. Now, we're going to go on another break. When we return, we will talk about the light, the solution. Is there closure to any of this? You said something when you were talking now about factory settings, and I'm like, is that really possible? Can people return back to factory settings if they've been through hell? How can someone be sexually molested for more than a year, 2 years, 3 years, some 10 years?
5 years.
5 years, 7 years. I know someone that from 13 years to she was about 24, her brother-in-law steadily molested her. Every time she got pregnant, they aborted the child. And they had about 10 abortions in all.
Wow.
Yeah, so that kind of person, it's been a lot though, but can that kind of person come back to factory setting?
It's possible.
It's possible.
Yeah.
We're going to find out when we come back after the break. Welcome back, everybody. This is still the voice of victors. Now, you might be wondering, why aren't we calling it the voice of survivors, the voice of victims, the voice of the sexually abused? Nah, these are victors. And we call them victors because no matter what you've been through, no matter for how long, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Now, Sonia, you were telling me that people can actually return to factory settings that God has intended for us.
Yes.
How is that even possible?
Yes, it's very possible, but the thing is, it's a journey.
It's a journey.
Yes, it's not.
It's not a snap.
No. It's not 2 minutes noodles. No. It's a journey. It's a process. It took a process to scatter that child. And it's going to take a process to
return.
repair that adult.
Wow.
Yes. So therapy and counseling is available. You know, the first thing sexual abuse does to you is it mutes you. You begin to keep a lot of secrets because you've been told, don't talk.
If you talk,
If you talk, I will kill
there's
you.
consequence.
If you talk, I'll kill your mother, kill your father. If you know, and in the mind of a child, once you say you're going to kill my parents, I'm not going to say anything. So the first thing for a survivor to do is you need to speak out. It's so liberating.
Is that what you did?
The first thing I did, yes, when I discovered that I needed help,
At what point in your life was that?
I was already married.
Wow.
I was already married. I got married not because I loved my husband. I got married because I wanted to kill a man. I wanted a man to pay for the hurt I had gone through. But you know, God is such a merciful God. He's an infinite God. We don't understand a lot of things about this Baba God. What he did for me was, he gave me a man who does not like trouble. Somebody that when I decide to start my trouble, he will just be looking. I know this is very weird because we heard a lot of stories about men being scum, men being bad, men being annoying. We still have God-fearing good guys. Single sisters,
Take note.
so this guy would just be looking at me, and one day he said to me, Tony, I'm not the person that molested you. I said, but you are a man. So every man was looking like the man to me. The night of our wedding, I didn't allow him to touch me. That night, I begged him. I said, please, let's live like brother and sister. And he agreed. But you see, at that point, he realized and he knew that this girl needs
help.
Yes, that I needed help. And he was able to get me counseling.
Wow.
The following day after our wedding. I always say this to men who are married to women who have gone through one form of sexual violence. Immediately the girl tells you, look, I was raped, I was molested, I've gone through incest. That girl has a lot of baggage and she needs a lot of therapy and counseling. Once you have decided within yourself that this is the person I want to love and spend the rest of my life with, be prepared to go through that journey of wellness together with her. Because there are a lot she's going to unveil as the marriage goes on. Yes. So he got me help the first time, which was church help. Church help is very good, going to pastor for counseling and therapy. But you see, we still have professionals like psychologists,
that can
professional
deal with your
therapists.
mind.
Yes. You know, NLP, they are called neuro-linguistic programmers. They also will help you so that you can overcome. We have behavioral change therapists and we have anger management therapists. Because one of the most common symptoms is
Anger.
Anger. And you're wondering, where is this anger coming from? You know?
You know, some people will just say it's a demon.
Yes, you know, because we spiritualize everything in this part of the world. It's okay because we are a very religious society. But you see, even as a Christian, seeking professional help to get back your sanity is not a sin. It's not a sin.
And it's needed.
It's very, very needed. And you see, with Jesus on your side, you can actually live a normal life again because God will give you a second chance to be happy. Yes. And another reason why you need to get help is most of the time, the abuser has moved on. It's the abused that is still stuck in the age of the abused. So that's why when you want to tell your story, you cry. Most of the time, when you want to tell the story of the rape, you still cry. It's because you have that 12-year-old girl inside this 41-year-old body. So when you want to tell the story, the 41-year-old body stays apart.
In one corner. And then the 12-year-old comes
wakes
out.
up and begins to tell her story. So you will cry, you will break down. But you see, when you go through counseling and therapy, you will tell your story, you will not cry.
And but you said something now that the abuser
has moved on.
So, but we don't want the abuser to move on because that is what gets the abused angry most times. They want to give back the measure of hurt and pain they've been through. So this abuser, and then they see
thing
this
is-
abuser moving on.
The thing is, the abuser does not know the effects of what he's done to the abused.
Wow.
Yes. Like one time I watched the Oprah Winfrey show, and Oprah said 19 years after her own abuse, because she was abused by her cousin first.
Yes, she said so.
called the cousin, and the cousin said that I'm married and I have children now.
Can you
I'm
move
a
on?
clergyman now. I have moved on. Can you move on? And Oprah said no. I've not been able to move
Wow.
on.
I heard that. I watched that actually.
So for yourself, as a survivor, I'm speaking to you now as someone who's been there before. You're getting help is not because of the abuser. It's for your own self. God has deposited great potentials inside of you. Do you want just one incident to rob you of your God-given talent? I can tell you for free, 5 years ago, this person sitting down here will not be able to sit down and tell you this. But you see now, I want you to know that there's a better you that you haven't discovered yet. Yes, there's a better you. There's so much God has kept inside of you that by the time you begin to unleash this your God-given potential, even your abuser will look back
And
you know,
wonder what happened.
Your life as an abused person who is surviving and has survived is like Jesus Christ. If the devil had known that killing this man
Would bring victory for
would
the
bring
whole world.
victory, yes,
He wouldn't
I'm
have
sure
tried
he
it.
wouldn't have tried it. So if my uncle knew that what he did to me in 1992, that night he played with my breast and his hand went to my vagina. If he knew that that thing he was doing was going to launch me to greatness, I'm sure he wouldn't have done it. Now, we need to understand that most of the men who are abusing children, they were abused when they were young too. I know that this is difficult to say as a survivor because we're supposed to be throwing rapists in jail. But a lot of the men who abuse people on a serious note, they need help.
So at the end of the day, the person that was abused is getting help. Then you have to also get this person that committed this terrible act to also seek help.
Yes, they need to seek help. And the sad thing is, our prisons are not rehabilitation centers.
I realized that.
They're not.
They're
They're
just
not.
remanding people
Yes.
still with the same
And
mind.
they come out worse. They come out worse. Because no. Try and go to Ikoyi prison, Sophia.
No. During the course of the
Just
show,
to go and do evangelism.
we'll be exposing the public and everybody to these situations, and we can actually do something to help.
Yes, we can.
We can do something to help.
Yes,
we can organize shows and
That's why
programs
we're here.
for people
Yes.
to actually watch and listen and then be able to speak out. Because the moment you speak out, you're free.
Yes. And as a society, we need to get to a place where we stop judging people. who are
Exactly.
doing it.
I was getting to that point.
Yes, we need to. That's why a lot of people don't talk. You know, a lot of women will go to their graves with that secret. They will never say a word. Because
Now-
you're going to be judged.
Now, it's something everybody needs to get into their psyche. When someone is courageous enough
To speak.
to speak to you,
Yes.
no, don't judge them. Don't talk about their secrets. Don't use them as the bedrock for your gossip. No.
Even as a clergy, I'm sorry to say this, but even as a pastor, if a member of your congregation comes to you to say, Pastor, this is what happened to me, please, sir, I beg you in the name of God, sir, don't make her the topic of your sermon the following Sunday.
It's like,
It's very sad.
it's backwards.
One happened just last week. The girl told the pastor, and by the time they got to church, pastor said, somebody in this church, a worker, described, and you know, and the girl was sitting in the congregation. It's so painful. When a survivor knows that I can tell you my secret and my secret is safe with you, I will speak. But if I know that you will make me a topic of your discussion, I would rather die with that secret. And you see, Sophia, one of the things sexual abuse, unforgiveness did to me personally, while I decided I was going to get help, one of the things it did, it affected my health so much.
Wow. So that means, apart from the fact that it affects your emotional, psychological, even physical
Yes, physical health.
health,
Yes,
everything is affected.
yes.
We have to go on a break now. When we return, this is the last lap. I want you all to stay tuned and let's get to talk with Tonya more. It's the voice of victors. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. This is still the voice of victors. And Antonia, you were just telling me now how you had health challenges as a result of the sexual abuse.
Yes. Bitterness is like you carrying a cup of poison to give your enemy and then you drink
You
it.
drink it? Yeah, I get that.
So when
I get the analogy a lot.
when you are being told to let go, for survivors, it has nothing to do with the abuser. It's for your own self. Me personally, when I held on to all those pain and all those hurts, it affected me so much. It affected my physical health. I've been hypertensive now for 13 years. I'm just 40, maybe 41 in October, and I'm on medication. I had fibroid, and the fibroid began to grow. My tummy was like a 7 months pregnant woman, and at the point my children will be praying, "Mommy, let this fibroid change to a baby." And I'd read somewhere that there's a link between unforgiveness
And fibroid and even
growing.
ulcer.
Yes. By the time, at a point, my life was now at stake. I had gone to see the doctor one day, and the doctor just said to me, "Tonya, if we do not do this surgery in the next 1 month, you will die." So I said, "Okay, give me 3 days, let me go home and think about it and pick a date." Meanwhile, I would have done that surgery 2 years before that time. I refused to do it. So by the time the doctor finished talking to me, it was a female gynecologist. By the time she finished talking to me, she said, "If you love yourself," the fibroid had gone so big, so bad, it had affected all my organs. To cut a long story short, I had to do a complete hysterectomy to save
Wow.
my life.
So you moved your womb.
Yes, so that I would be alive. So after that, by the time I went for counseling, I think subsequently I will tell you the story of how severe depression and suicidal thoughts landed me in the psychiatric hospital.
And you're just 40.
Yes, so I had to tell myself, "Antonia, this person is alive. He's giving his life to Christ. He's now a deacon in a church. So why do you want to
Kill
kill
yourself.
yourself? Why holding on to this hurt?" It was a personal decision to get help. And my children were growing and I was not involved in their life. Everything a mother was supposed to do, my husband was doing for my children. My children would write letters to be able to talk to me. My husband would bring it, "Tonya, this child needs to talk to you." I read the letter and I give you an appointment. One day I said to myself, "I have 2 girls. I can't continue like this." So I had to tell myself, "Babe, you need to get help." So I checked myself in by myself. I was actually ashamed of what people would say if they hear that I was in a mental home. But you see, I was ready to fight those inner demons and be free. But this is the free person you are saying. This is the aftermath of going to seek help.
So we're telling you out there, there's no shame
There's no shame.
in seeking help.
There's no shame.
What happened should not have happened.
Yes.
And because it should not have happened, it must be corrected.
It was never your fault.
It was not your fault.
You were a child who should have been protected, but the adults who were supposed to protect you chose not to protect you, chose to take advantage of you. It was
And even
never
for
your
some
fault.
adults that were raped, it's not
Yes.
your fault. You need to get help. And
Because that guilt alone, the fact I used to blame myself a lot. I used to think that because we're going to a church where trousers were not allowed, I used to wear only dresses and skirts. I used to blame myself a lot that it was my fault. If I was wearing trousers or jeans, it would have been difficult to remove it, but I was wearing only dresses and skirts. So it was just easy to just raise my dress up and do what he wants to do and leave. Until the counselor told me, "Tonya, it's not your fault." I thought it was my fault that it happened to me. So that self-guilt is enough to actually
make
make the survivor give up.
this is a long journey ahead, and we can't wait to unveil to you everything we have for everyone on this show. Now, the last thing we want to leave with you is that you should know that it is not your fault.
At all. It was never your fault.
You should not blame yourself
Yeah.
if you found yourself in this situation, whether you were abused or you abused someone because of what happened to you in the past. Everything is a precedence. Everything lays a precedence for something else to happen, right?
Yes.
So at the end of the day, get help, right?
Yes,
get help.
You know, finally, you know, I spoke to a rapist. I go the extra mile. My husband actually thinks I'm crazy. But it's okay. I met this guy online who came into my DM after I wrote about depression and suicidal thoughts and how to get help. And he said to me, after reading my posts, that he's feeling bad because he's molested several girls. So he didn't know what to do. And I was really excited. I said, okay, let's meet up. So we met in a restaurant, and as I sat in front of him, I just kept looking at him like this. In my head, I said, this is a rapist. But the person I saw didn't look like a monster.
It was a guy, no normal guy.
A regular guy. And he just kept telling me, I want you to help me tell survivors that most of us rapists are sorry. You know, he promised he was going to do restitution, go and apologize to the people he's taking advantage of when he was growing up. And he told me he was introduced to sex by an auntie when he was 5. So he, of course, as a child, he didn't know it was wrong. So he was experimenting. And those sisters and cousins he did that to, they don't talk to him today. And one of them has actually written a story painting her rapist as a monster. So he is feeling so terrible. But you see, he had to go through counseling.
Okay.
Yes, he had to get help. So when he tried begging the girl several times and the girl refused, I said, leave her. She will come round. You are doing a very noble thing by going to say you are sorry, but you see, the deed has been done. You can't force her to forgive you.
Wow. You see, what I want to leave with everybody now is just the way evil precedes evil. Evil gives birth to evil.
Yes.
Same. Good gives birth to good. No matter how bad evil is enjoying and feeling that, oh, it has won, good will always overcome evil. So no matter what you've gone through, no matter the kind or type of abuse you have been subjected to, when I see Antonia here, I know that there's a miracle for everyone and anyone. I mean, she's been through a lot. This is the first show, so we've not had the time to actually talk through everything. The first time I heard her speak, I went home, I was thinking about her throughout the night. No jokes, but she's such a strong woman and a proof that one can be happy and joyful and then become a blessing. Because actually what you said the other time, that when the devil thought he could take you out, but it brought you out to the world to help others. Sometimes you need to go through something to become something to others. No, you're not terrible. No, you're not ashamed. No, you're not a bad person. No, you're not a prostitute. No, you're not any name that whatever the society calls you. You are who God says you are. And that is why we call this show The Voice of Victors. So we have to end here today.
Oh,
it's our first
ending, but we have to.
We have to. We're going to come up with more stories and more solutions and practical things that you can do to help someone that has been a victim of sexual abuse, or actually, if you have been a victim of sexual abuse, you find help and you find light.
We'll bring more survivors to come tell you their stories. Don't worry.
Don't worry about anything. So thank you all for watching today. Thank you, Tonya, for being with us.
You're welcome, Sophia.
We're going to be having fun on this show.
Yep.
So it's
I'm
not
so
all dark and gooey as everybody would think. It's bright
It's not.
and it's light.
It's not.
Thank you all for staying with us. God bless you.